Don't adjust your headsets or your cameras, folks. This is not the Maxi Taxi. This is Pingo and Pals. Welcome to episode 6 of the Turn End podcast. As always, I'm joined by Chris Clark, Andrew Gallagher, and I think Steph is coming on a little bit later. Well, lads, we're a little... Steph, he's here. No show without punch. Unfortunately, I'm only on for a short time tonight, lads. Or fortunately for some people. But look, we're a little bit happier after those 90 minutes, lads. Chris, we'll start with you tonight. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I was just delighted with what I'd seen in the last 10 minutes. I hadn't seen that passion at all this season and at times at the end of last year. And so just to finally have a team under the cosh in Oriel Park and we're going for the win instead of settling for a draw, and we really look like the old Dundalk team. I thought like we had chances to win that. I think in particular, second half, Duffy was playing exceptionally well. I think there was a shout, one or two shouts. I think Hubin went down for a penalty then as well. I think we really could have got something. But lads, when's the last time we got to say that we could have actually won a game? I'm so delighted with even just that point that we were in a game the whole way through and could have snatched a win. So yeah, I'm actually delighted. I'm delighted.
Good stuff. Steph, I don't want to talk to you yet. Gally, you go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was probably the first half in particular was probably the most boring half of football I think I've watched in a long time. It was like, but then that just goes to show you flip that in the last 15 minutes and that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for it maybe for 90 minutes, but if they had that for 60 or 70 minutes, that it looked like they want to get on the ball for the last 15 minutes. I know we're jumping ahead straight onto that, but that's the positivity. Finally, we're at a game where we're talking about a bit of positivity out of the game now. Obviously, what's going on before the matches come up later on, but the last 50 minutes for me were probably as good as we've moved the ball and got at people, probably since the President's Cup match. And even then, we were just all right. I thought, just starting off, again, we're at this thing where I'm talking about, I didn't know the shape of the team. I didn't know where anybody... With Stogan in hand, I didn't know what positions we were playing. I didn't know if one was a right winger, one was playing in behind Hoban, if they were playing as a two. And again, with Stogan surprised me. He can move really quick, gets on the ball, causes problems. But again, it's just that lack of kind of cohesion. They don't seem to have... Obviously, they've been sent out with a plan, but I just don't know if they understand. I don't know if it's the language barrier. I think there's definitely a cracking footballer in hand. I do think there's a proper baller in him. But I just think he needs to be let loose a wee bit. But as you say, we're coming off the back of a draw. It's a good draw. I think Pats are probably one of the best teams in the league at the minute. If we can get the last 20 minutes, 15 minutes out of them for 70 or 80 minutes, we'd be happy outcome Tuesday night against Derry as well.
Brilliant, that's it. All right, moving on to the next set. Steph, go on ahead. Pal, what was your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, just like sort of what the lads are saying there. The first half, I don't think there was a shot in anger or from anyone. But the last 15, 20 minutes, when we actually showed a bit of urgency, like the last 5 minutes of probably the Harps match or whatever, but to a greater extent. And I don't think it's any surprise to see like Hoban, McMillan linking up well, Duffy, McElhenney, Shields, Boyle, all on the park, players that know each other, stuff we've been crying out for. And the major worry we had at the start of the year when there was so many players from outside the league, from different nationalities, different languages, trying to gel them together in a short space of time with no pre-season. It's no coincidence that when we had the players that know each other, know how each other play, we started to really cause problems and people were getting excited. I think Gally needs to get a new couch. He was jumping up and down at one stage.
I thought we had the winner. It's only for Paddy Barrett. I thought we had the winner.
Yeah. Lucky he didn't text us that last night. We've been asking questions. But no, that's what we're looking for. Last 15 minutes, we showed urgency. We looked like we knew what we were doing. We were trying to get a winner. Everything positive. That's going to be the buzzword for this weekend. Positivity. So
finally, a little bit of positivity.
This is the most positive this show has ever been.
Yeah. We only got 3 viewers tonight. I thought, well, I didn't get watching the second half of the game because I was driving out to work in Pingu's Passion Wagon. So, but I was listening into LMFM with Adrian Taff and Flano, and to say there was a difference in Flano and Adrian's reactions from up to about 75 minutes, and after that, it seems like obviously, I think the turning point from what I gathered listening in was the introduction of McMillan. As you have said, you've seen the game, but that link up with him and Hooben. And it seemed like those last 10, 15 minutes, Michael Duffy really got into the game as well. Which brings on kind of to the point, every week, obviously, we give away a free pizza in association with Defy for Tony's Pizzeria. If you have any man of the match, if you think or if you want to pick someone from the Dundalk team as your man of the match, please text in and we'll pick that later. I seen someone is living 4 years ago. They picked Robbie Benson. He doesn't actually play with Dundalk anymore, so you can't pick an ex-Dundalk player. But yeah, lads, as I say, I was listening in. I was in a panic to get out here that we could do this. So I'll let you talk a little bit more about the match.
I think, lads, just before we do, we talked about that we would have a special guest to join us in tonight, Pingu. So I suppose if you want to introduce him there.
Yeah, we have a legend, Dundalk FC legend. He was like the second coming of Christ at one point. He doesn't really need an introduction. Mr. John Gill. Giller, how's it going?
Hey, John.
How's things, Giller?
Guys, you there?
Yep.
How are you, pal?
I'm in the car. Giller's on the boat.
How are you? I don't have a great connection. I think I have you now. Have I? I think.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
It's not great, guys. I'm in a bad area, I think.
Are you at Danny O'Connell's house, Giller?
You can't really hear us, can you?
No, he's
No,
gone.
Well, the one man we want on this. We'll try and get him back.
We'll see.
But just go back to the game. I thought on the Pats end of things, I thought Mountney was causing us serious problems. But on the flip side of that, Djokovic was getting up and down as well. I think we're talking about it again. We're lacking a midfield. When Fats came on, I know he comes on with Stoke and got a blow to the face, but when he comes on, it's a different game. We're at them different. We retain the ball better. We move the ball quicker. It just gives you that side, Hopefully John's on again. Is he?
Can you hear us, John?
No, I'm kind of breaking up, guys. Unfortunately, I don't know whether I'm kind of remote. I'm in a remote place at the moment. That could be the problem, I'd say.
I think with everything that's going on at Dundalk, I wish we were all in a remote place.
He can't hear us at all, I don't think.
Can't hear us.
I think Giller's Wi-Fi is going down quicker than the Titanic, lads. I think he's on a boat there, so he's gone again.
Hang on.
Try him again. No, he's gone. It's like Danny from last. Poor Danny, getting all the views.
Before any guests come on, can they please stop being in remote locations, please?
And it's such a pity because the likes of John coming on with what happened today, and we read stuff in the paper, on the papers, on Twitter, on like, for instance, if anybody wants to know, like, just going off the game tonight, off the side of it, if you're talking about what's wrong with Oriel Park, Shane Keegan leaves last night, and today we went down to a new player, and there's nothing in the media from Dundalk with Shane Keegan leaving the club, and it's stuff like that that's what happened back to this communication. We don't need to know the details, but we'd like to know. Like, if a manager leaves the club, fans are entitled to know what happened. And barring any major rows or falling outs, things like that should be made public. Shane leaves last night. We hear about it this morning, but then we announced Wilfred Sahibo to take the shine off, or to take to add a bit of gloss to it. It doesn't. The fans aren't stupid. But that's kind of what we were bringing Giller on for. Unfortunately, his Wi-Fi is he must be in a boat somewhere.
Yeah, I think if we can't get Giller on tonight, we'll try maybe get him on Tuesday night. After the Derry City game. But yeah, I think there's loads to talk about. It's been some 24 hours for the club. Obviously, the news is broke, still not officially through the club channels, that Shane Keegan has stepped down. There's rumours that Filippo is gone after tonight's game. They were just talking last night. Do you think tonight's result maybe is giving Filippo a little bit of food for thought, that maybe he might backtrack and stay? But I don't think he will personally. But I'd be interested in your thoughts on that. Steph.
You're very quiet.
No, I can't see him staying. That, like, someone just hasn't come out with the rumor that he's told the players he's leaving. Like, that just doesn't come out, especially after what happened. He's back. Can you hear us now, Gill?
That's better now.
Yeah,
well, I'm on the back of a boat. I'm on the back of a boat here, so that's what the problem
Unbelievable.
is.
What a legend.
So,
You must be down in Cavan, are you, Giller?
well, I'm getting a bit of time to use it now, thank God.
Not so bad. You must be down in Belturbet, are you?
The what?
You must be in Belturbet, are you?
I am. I'm in Belturbet. That's exactly where I am.
Sure, it's still dial-up broadband in Cavan, isn't it?
And they don't have. I don't think they have broadband in Cavan yet. I don't know if Pingo will let you know more about that.
They wouldn't pay for it anyway, Gill.
It's it's lovely. It's lovely down here. I'm actually down here on my own, so I actually listened to the commentary of the game today on LFM. I actually didn't see the game, so but from what I could hear anyway, probably that was what 3 points probably left behind it. Last 20 minutes very much on top.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely last 20 minutes on top. That Flano was on commentary. The bollocks kept me out of the squad when you were managing first time.
Pinky, you're going to have to do something about this internet down here. It's a disgrace.
That's why I moved to Chicago, Gillo.
It's a joke. Probably,
That's a shambles.
Man, they won't pay for it. That's probably what's wrong. They won't pay for the fucking internet. That's what's wrong.
Well, Gillo, I suppose everybody wants you on. They want to ask what your thoughts are on everything that's kind of gone on the last 24 hours and the rest.
Very, very sad, to be honest. I don't take any pleasure in seeing what's going on. I just think it's feel sorry for all you guys and supporters. It's very, very tough. Really, unless you're in the inside, know what's going on, it's probably hard to realise what is going on. I've been talking to a couple of the players, all right, but there's no doubt there's still a very good squad there. There is a very good squad. That there's still, a lot can be salvaged, but again, I think a lot's going to entail on what happens in the next 48 to 72 hours.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
John, just a lot that we're seeing play out over this past week. I mean, was there elements of that happening when you were back and before you left? And was this part of the reasoning to leave?
I'm going to go out again, lads. I'm going to come back in again. I'm going to go over to the clubhouse here and see if I can get a better internet signal there. I'll come back to you in about 2 minutes.
You go, John.
No problem. Cheers.
Park that question. We just had him on the knife on the edge now.
I thought Steph had buttered him up. I'm going for the kill here, lads.
Yeah. It was typical. He dodged my question, just like when I questioned him about not playing.
Yeah. I think though is this week is just typical of Dundalk over the past while, isn't it? It's an absolute pantomime played out in the public domain.
I think, like, if you had someone in that was like writing made up stories about the club, I don't think they come out with as good as stories as we're hearing, and then you're thinking surely that's not true, and then next of all it's confirmed, or you hear more and more of the story, and it's coming out, and it's crazy stuff. Like, you can't believe some of the stuff that's coming out, and then it's becoming fact. Then it's a total mess from behind the scenes. It's hard to see what's going on. Like, I know, like, we all sort of seem to know what is the problem, but it's bad to worse. Every time we hear something else, it's worse again. Like, so hopefully, if someone can come in and manage it, and if Mitchelton can look after the rest behind the scenes, we can start focusing on what's happening on the pitch.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
How are we going now, John?
Yeah, that's better now. I'm over in the clubhouse, so it must be a better internet connection here. They paid for the internet.
They must have got it
You're
in
on a
from
boat
Monaghan or
and a
something.
clubhouse. How big is this boat that's got its own clubhouse?
Well, it's a nice clubhouse.
John, no, I was just asking earlier, just, we've seen a lot played out this week in the media from the club about rumours, this and that, everything that's going on. Did you feel there was a lot of that going on in the background while you were there?
No, not really. In fairness, when I joined 2 years ago, one thing about the Dundalk dressing room, it was a very, very tight dressing room. Not much came out, and the club did its business in a proper way. There wasn't much. Listen, since Stephen Kenny went in, it's well acknowledged that the club has gotten strength to strength. It was run properly. But listen, you're always going to get bumps in the road. Unfortunately, I'm saying we've, because I would have a lot of affinity for the club. We've hit a few major bumps in the road. But the fact of the matter is, there's still a very good group of players there. Very good squad. Unfortunately, with the licensing situation, it wasn't ideal. I don't know. I'm not privy to what went on in the background, how it was handled. What I don't maybe understand is why like you look at Stephen O'Donnell can be on the touchline for St.Pats. They've got Alan Matthews there, very similar to what me and Vinny were there when me and Vinny were there. Although Vinny, in fairness, had enrolled on the pro license course, so he was actually in the middle of doing it. But I don't understand. That's the bit I don't understand. Why? Whose decision is it that Filippo wasn't allowed in the technical area? Was it his own decision? Was it the club's decision? Was it the FAI's decision? I don't know. And I just think that kind of muddied the water a bit, because there was an air of uncertainty of really what was going on, who was in charge.
When you throw back to when yourself and Vinny and Rory were announced as the management structure at that time for yourself, like there was nothing but positivity. I think it's a very similar scenario, yet it played out so different. It's so strange in that sense that you were the license holder initially, when Vinny was there, and then Vinny obviously was able to enroll later on, but this time when Shane stepped in as the license holder, it seemed to play out completely different. What was your thoughts on that?
I don't know, because we had parameters. We all knew what our job. I knew what my role was. And again, I think I came under the term. I was head coach. Vinny was coach. I think I was termed as head coach. And I knew what the parameters of the job were. I was very much there just to help. Obviously help Vinny and Rory. I very much in the background, but we had a very good working dynamic between the three of us. Everybody knew their roles. The players knew exactly who was in charge, and we went about it, I think, in the right way. It's just unfortunate the way this has panned out. I don't know why it's panned out this way. It shouldn't be difficult to get it right.
Yeah,
I think the press release came out that Shane Keegan was going to be the manager and the main man in charge. Like, that just highlighted the whole situation, and all eyes were on Dundalk then. I know, like, that they got the fine last year for Filippo being on the touchline and giving orders in Europe. I don't know if they were scared of just getting another fine or that, but that just all eyes was on the situation then, and all the reporters came out and were like all focusing on that, whereas you said the same situation with Pats, and then you have Drogheda as well, like Tim Clancy, he doesn't have a pro, he's only on it now, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think they've changed the rules now, Stefan. I think once you're enrolled in the pro now, you're allowed in the dugout. So they've changed it, and rightly so, by the way. That was a silly rule. The Dundalk situation, I really don't understand why. Again, we go back to the Pat situation with Stephen O'Donnell, who's not on the pro license. He didn't get on the pro license this time, which I think was a silly decision as well. They didn't allow him. They didn't allow him to go on it. So they've Alan matches there. It's a very, very similar setup to what we had. Now, I don't understand why didn't they just copy and paste what Pats were doing? Check with St.Pats. Well, how now the club, maybe Pats might have shared, but I don't think there was no great brainstorm. It was, to me, a simple solution. Obviously, you put Shane as a pro license holder. Filippo stays in the dugout. That's where I think that it's led to confusion. And I think also then that transmits to players. I'm not making players. Players are a funny breed. Players will look for excuses. If the balls aren't pumped right, we don't. And rightly so, by the way, because Dundalk has set a template of excellence the last 8-9 years. Like it's been very professional. There's been a template of excellence around the place. So standards had to be high. I don't understand. Again, I go back to what I say. Why or who made the decision that Filippo couldn't be in the technical area? Because let's be honest, it's farcical seeing why messages have been passed down, and that creates uncertainty with players. And actually, probably wasn't fair on Shane Keegan either. It wasn't fair on either boys. So I don't understand why that position wasn't clarified before the season started.
Yeah, do you feel, Giller, like when the chips are down, and obviously they have been for the last couple of weeks with the clubs, or probably a while before that, but during this situation, since the club announced that Shane was going to be the manager and going to be the one calling the shots, when things aren't going the way of the team, if Filippo starts barking orders, do you think, as you say, there are some players maybe using it as an excuse, and having a go at him because he's technically not the one in charge? You know what I mean? Does it set a false narrative among the players?
No, I actually think the players know exactly who's in charge. But when you're managing a football team, it's not like maybe you've got to be passionate. Your passion. It's like plugging into a plug in a wall. You plug your passion on a line transcends to your players. And in fairness to Filippo, one of the things that he's a very passionate man. We've seen that.
Yeah.
And this little sidekick with him, they're passionate. So when you take that away, when you take away that from a manager, that's like taking a toolbox away from a tradesman. You cannot do your job properly. I don't think sitting in the stands. Some managers might sit in it for the first half, Dean, and then they come down into the technical area.
Yeah.
But when you need to make quick decisions, instantaneous decisions, it might be tactically, it could be. You can't wait around for 2 or 3 minutes for messages to be passed. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, it hasn't worked.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, I think that's even tonight. It was evident, obviously, that when it was Filippo and Giuseppe in the dugout, and there seemed to be a little bit more calm and a little bit more structure to what they were doing,
Yeah. Well, from what I only listened to it on radio, and the last 20 minutes seemed to be all one-way traffic.
Yeah.
I think Paddy Barrett made 2 great clearances off the line. So that's a positive tonight. We got a performance tonight probably, and probably should have taken 3 points. But again, I go back to a lot's going to depend on what happens in the next 48 to 72 hours. There needs to be clarity for everybody, for the players first and foremost, for the supporters. So there needs to be some sort of clarity exactly what direction this club is going. What are we going? Put it to bed. Wait, Filippo's staying there. Is he going? Is he coming? No, Filippo's staying for the foreseeable future. Obviously, he's gone. I don't know whether he's gone. There was rumours he was going. I don't know what's going on. But there needs to be clarity put in. There has to be some form of clarity from the point of view, mainly because of the players. You can't have them second guessing, and also the fans. The fans deserve a little bit more, in my view.
Absolutely. Well, look, Giller, I have to go because I've got a game right now. Before I do leave, just a quick one. What formation should I play? It's an under-14 boys.
I'm not even going to go there, Dino.
Cheers, Giller, lads. I'll chat to you on Tuesday. All right,
thanks, Dino.
All right, see you.
John, just sorry, Chris, go on.
Go on ahead, Gally.
John, just on the director of football role, what do you think of that as a whole? Like, when it comes to director of football and the management committee underneath it, what would you make of that, being a manager on the sideline? Would you think it would be something leering over you, hanging over your head, or just you'd get on with your job?
It's not something I would particularly like, although it's very prevalent in the game now. You look at England and most big European clubs, it is a very, and it probably would take a fair bit of the workload off a manager in regards the contractual negotiations and dealing with the day-to-day stuff. But the big thing is that the manager and the guy whose arse is in the bacon slicer, he has to be able to trust the director of football. Now, listen, Jim Magilton comes with a lot of qualifications. He's great. He's very well experienced. You cannot be but impressed by his CV. But the most important relationship, obviously, is the manager and the players. But after that, you're going to have a director of football. the relationship between the manager and the director of football has to be watertight, has to have perimeters. We all know what our jobs are. I'm not saying that's the case either. I don't know because I'm not there now. I actually think it's not a bad idea. But I think that you've got to have buy-in from the manager. Now, and from what I can gather, Filippo wanted that last year. That was one of the things he said. He was quite content to work with a director of football. So I think it can work. Like Stephen McPhail, does nearly the same job with Shamrock Rovers, albeit he's on the bench. But Stephen McPhail was brought in. If you look at Stephen's title, I think his title is director of football.
Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah. I think you're 100%. John, you've shown a lot of passion, I suppose, online this week. Maybe putting one or two facts straight and everything. I think the one thing I would say is you're probably showing more passion than some of the hierarchical in Oriel Park this week than we've seen for quite some time. The club obviously holds a real special place in your heart, does it?
Absolutely. Listen, I had 3 great years in my first spell there. It was magical. And then, unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond my control, I didn't get a chance to finish what I started. And then to come back the way I did, albeit in a small role, but I think I did. I genuinely enjoyed working with the staff that we had there, particularly Vinny and Rory Higgins and Stephen O'Donnell. There was a real good dynamic. And I felt I was able to give maybe something back, help the club out in a difficult, traumatic position it was in with losing Stephen, because it was a traumatic and it happened very suddenly. And I think that was born by what the season that we had. Like people seem to forget, we were penalty kicks away from doing a clean sweep. In Vinny Pert's tenure in Dundalk, we never lost a home game. We did not lose a home game. But people forget that now. At the time, there was a lot of people. There were some people disgruntled. I learned lessons about websites and. There were a couple of disgruntled people, maybe the way it was going. But when you look at it, we lost. We lost a great game to Rovers. If you remember, we had won our first 4. We lost that great game that was played in Tallaght 3-2, where we should have the Flores won the goal. We should have seen that game out. We drew a game against Waterford. We were 2-0 down. Showed great character to come back. Probably should have won it in the last minute. And we had a poor performance against Bowes. That's I know that. I still think the Champions League performance against Clay, decent performance. If you go back in the game, and I've watched it back many times, Pat Hoban's header goes in. I thought performance. He scored 2 late goals, and we knew even after that game that we had a fair chance to pen the draw. We had a chance of progressing, but things didn't materialise. And sometimes, like in life, be careful what you wish for.
Absolutely, no, 100%. That's 100%.
I feel sorry for the boys at the moment, actually, in fairness to them. I don't know. I only met the 2 lads. I handed over to them. I only met Filippo and Giuseppe once, and they were 2 nice guys. I really feel sorry for them because, in fairness, they did. They got to the group, the Champions League, or the Europa League last year, and they won the FAI Cup. It's been a tough time, and it's been a surreal time as well with no fans in the ground. That maybe is a plus at the moment because supporters aren't slow on when things aren't going well. But I actually think the supporters would actually help the team at the moment. I actually think the team, the lads miss the brilliant support that we have down there and how passionate it is.
I think there was a few lads sitting up on the wall behind the goals letting off flares tonight, so maybe that spurred the boys on the last few minutes.
Yeah.
John, we had one question in here for you, and it's I don't know if it's the time to ask or not, but someone has asked, Richie O'Connor's asked, if the club came a call in the 3rd time, would you go for it?
I'll plead the 5th Amendment on that one.
You're probably better off, Joe. You're probably better safer than doing that.
No, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Listen, I've done my time at Dundalk. It's brilliant, and it has a special place in my heart. And the club means a huge amount to me. Spent I've had a lot of games there, either as a manager and as a coach. So it's a magical place. And I know, and we get an awful lot of people knocking Oriel Park and running it down and trying to run us down. But as my late father said to me, people die of 2 things in this country: either heart attacks or jealousy. And a lot of people probably couldn't stomach the fact that we've done well. And I don't care, Oriel is a special place. Does it need some work done to it? Yes, it does. We know that. We'd all love that. I'd hate to see us move out of Oriel. I just think that it's a spiritual home with Dundalk. So, listen, if I could help the club in any way I could, I probably would. But would I go back in the present circumstances? I don't think so. They wouldn't want me back anyway.
Don't say that just yet.
I mean, remember, I didn't. In fairness to Peak Six, and they're copping a lot of stick at the moment. But in fairness to them, they put their money where their mouth is. They've been very good to the club over since they've come in. They've invested a lot of money. Now, have they made mistakes? They probably have. But we all make mistakes in life. We all make them. But without them, do you think we'd have a viable club and have tasted the success that we've tasted? I don't think so. So
No.
we've got to try and reach a happy medium. I think this whole COVID thing hasn't helped, that they haven't been able to get over and maybe feel how frustrated people are. And the thing is, like, they didn't run me. I left on my own accord. I could have, I was asked to stay on, but I wouldn't do that. I've never done it. I didn't do it in Shamrock Rovers. I didn't do it. I didn't do it in Drawdown. I certainly wasn't going to do it in Dundalk. Because if I go to work with somebody, a manager, he's got my undivided loyalty, and I just don't. It wouldn't sit right with me, and it wouldn't have sat right with me.
Yeah, I think a lot of the fans disgruntled with Peak Six. John, like you just talked about the honours list that we've just won over the past few years. I mean, this is unprecedented in the club's history, that we have been so successful for so long. And I think the fans now, rightly, I suppose, kind of demand that the club is run in a professional manner at all times. And for everything that, like you just mentioned, the Peak Six have put millions into this club in upgrading the YDC, in offering long-term contracts. I remember, they were offering 3.5-year contracts not that long ago to keep people tied down. And I think we just would have liked something back on our own side, that we can see that they, for our match day, I suppose when we're there on match day, that we have better facilities for us fans. I think that's the only gripe I think that the fans really, really have with it. And there could be one or two things with the way we're being run high up in Peak Six at the moment. I think that's the fans' real gripe at the moment. But like you say, for the money they put in, you can't argue. But we think as fans,
our training ground is probably the best in the Aircon League. Well, Rovers have a good setup now as well in Roadstone, but our training facilities, what we've done over in the youth development, is second to none as regards setting an environment for players to thrive in. So we have done a lot right. There is work needs to be done, and I can understand the frustration of people. The people are getting frustrated because, as you say, it's unprecedented, the success that we've had the last 7 or 8 years, 9 years. So, but nothing lasts forever. Sometimes you've got to reboot, take 2 steps back to go maybe 1 forward. And with a lot of players moving on and a lot of personnel moving on as regards staff, change. Nobody likes change, so sometimes change takes a while to bed in.
Yeah, 100%. John, I think we'll appreciate and thank you for your time tonight. You've been so good to go back and get into somewhere that was giving us fantastic coverage as well. So we really appreciate your time tonight.
No problem, boys. It's great to see you and talk to you, and keep the spirits up, keep the chin up. We'll rise again. Don't worry, we'll rise again.
Perfect.
Cheers, Callan.
John, thanks so much.
Okay, take care, boys. Bye bye.
See you, Slant.
See you.
The legend, huh?
Top man.
He really is. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
Couldn't get a word in with him, so.
That's what you want.
Yeah. I think though it says a lot for the man that he still has not badmouthed anybody there. He can done over.
You can get that passion off him. You can get that. He can suck you in with that. There's very few people who can do that. Stephen Kenny can do it. On his day back in the day, Roddy Collins could have done it as well. He's gone the other way now, the flip side of it. But there's people who can do that. They're good man managers, and John's definitely up there with the best of them.
Yeah, without a doubt. Just a reminder to everybody that we have our man of the match competition again tonight. So just if you want to comment in who their man of the match was tonight, we will announce the winner at some stage, maybe after our next guest, who I can see is waiting to come on in now. So I think we'll bring in Ciaran Callan. Ciaran, you're very welcome to the show. How are you?
Not too bad, boys. How are we? Good to see you.
Did you get to be in Oriel tonight?
I did indeed, yeah. I was at the game. I was reporting for a website called finalwhistle.ie, so I got in to watch the game. And going to be quite honest with you, the first half was quite scrappy and there wasn't much to it. And then the second half, when Sambone scored for St.Pats, there was a definite reaction out of that Dundalk side tonight. And that's something that I even alluded to in the match report. There was definitely something in that team that we haven't seen in a while. There was a real increase and a real intensity to their play, which is something that maybe we haven't seen in this side this year. And that's something that going forward, it's a positive trait, because now we know that there's been questions over, players' motivation and players' tactics and stuff like that. But you can see it that these boys, like, from their experience, know how to go into that fifth gear, and really change the way that the game can be played. And they're playing against the side, like, and there was periods of particularly in the first half, I was looking at the St.Pats team and I was kind of going, this is exactly the way Dundalk played in 2016. Like O'Donnell has them. You can see why they're near the top of the table. They're a really, really good footballing side, like to play the ball in the deck, and they're very quick in their movement and very intelligent players. You can see why they're up there. And it was an entertaining game. So all in all, look, it was the first time I kind of left Oriel this year where I kind of sat there and went, oh yeah, there's something here. We might be okay. Because I can tell you one thing, after the Finn Harps match, I went, what's Cabintini like, lads? But I'm only joking. It was a jest. But no, like I do have belief that the right man at the helm, whoever it may be, I think they can really do something with these group of players.
Ciaran, just from being at the game and being at previous games, what do you think there was any difference tonight compared to the other games where, like, in previous games, if we went to go behind, it was nearly like a lost cause, but tonight we got the equaliser and we were looking for a winner? Was there anything visual you seen that said, oh yeah, gee, that's different from previous?
Very simply, one voice. There was one voice being said at all times, and that was Filippo Giovagnoli. I know this has been commented on before. Like, it's not like it's not known. One of the first games I was at this season, Filippo's in the stand, Giuseppe's at another point in the stand, Shane's on the touchline. Shane says an order, Filippo then contradicts him. Shane's kind of turning around looking at him, saying to him kind of, what are you doing? Giuseppe saying something. It was complete. The messages that were being sent across while they were being said with the intentions of improving the tempo of the side. Too many voices and too much was being said, and that leads to confusion, leads to a culture of confusion whereby the systems that maybe they've put in place during training was not coming to fruition because they were being told 3 or 4 different instructions at the one time. And like I even remember at one stage where Mickey Duffy was being told to do 2 different things as much as he's magic, he can't do miracles, and it was getting very confusing. Whereas in this stage, like, I even saw at one point that Filippo sent Giuseppe up to the stand. Now, that wasn't that he was angry at him or anything. I think he just wanted to say, look, I need to be in charge for the next 20 minutes of this period, that I can get them through this. And that led to an increase in tempo, that the players were getting a direct instruction from one person the entire time. And because of that, it led to a more positive performance on the pitch.
That was sort of similar to what
most of the season.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's unfortunately the circumstances surrounding, like, and I've said this before, this isn't Filippo Giovagnoli's fault. It's not Giuseppe's either. They were brought into a job. Anybody worth their salt, if they were offered the chance of managing the current League of Ireland champions, snap the hand off you, whether you had a UEFA Pro license or your grassroots A, you'd take it. Like, there's no 2 ways about it. It was just that there was a shift in the management structure, which I think initially led to confusion by both the management team and the players. And they didn't know who to be following instructions from, because from what I've led to believe, Filippo's an exceptional coach. Like, he's a really, really good coach and a really good man motivator. And you could see that in certain games that happened last year where particularly after the loss of Vinnie Perth, there was certain games in which he managed them through. But in this instance, this time round, because there was this kind of forced maneuverment where Shane Keegan, and once again, this isn't Shane's fault either. He was put into a kind of a position where he had to be there because he was the pro licensee. That we had a situation in which, the players, in effect, players are humans. They respond to the environments that they're in. It just got too confusing for them, and because of that, the mixed signals led to serious trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And I think us as fans and everyone else, we could all see that confusion being played out, and then it ended up being, a lot of times we've also seen, by the end of a match, we didn't even know what formation we were playing. Yeah. It just seemed to load players onto the pitch. And that kind of, to me, sounded like one person wanted somebody else to come in, somebody else wanted somebody else. But nobody made these decisions based on a correct formation to make Dundalk get through and get a win out of it. It was more like, well, I think this person should play. He should play. There's too many influences that having one voice, one definite decision maker on the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that's always been kind of part of the I know we shouldn't be harping back the whole time from, we kind of knew who was starting in Stephen Kenny's lineup. We kind of knew in reality who was starting in Vinny's as well. There was that settlement. Once again, Filippo made a change this evening. It was the first time that he's only made one change. Usually there's been 2 to 3 to 4. And you have to have a settled side. It's very, very important. You look at the Pats side, you look at it, or any of the other teams, they have kind of a set 8 or 9 core players that are going to start every week. And it's about tinkering your starting lineup to meet your opposition. And that's why you bring in certain players. But there was wholesale changes. Han, I don't think these games are for Han to be played at this moment in time. Because they're too high tempo and high pressured games, he's and also he's trying to get used to so much that's going on around him. He's getting used to a new culture and he's just been hurled into a first team game against Bows, and it wasn't fair on him, and I think the same I think today he was much more settled. But in saying that, McElhenney came on, and he changed the dynamic of the game. But then when Junior came on, a lot of the focus came on. They didn't mark Han as much as they marked Junior tonight. I thought they stuck 2 players on Junior because Stephen O'Donnell was obviously very aware of the threat of Junior. But that in turn freed up McElhenney, Shields and Duffy on the other side of the pitch, which meant that's how we were able to push up forward an awful lot more in the second half as the game wore on.
Absolutely. Ciaran, I suppose the reason we brought you in tonight was a conversation we've had on probably most of our shows so far, and that's in and around the supporters club, or the lack of one in Oriel so much. I suppose, tell us a little about why you wanted to go ahead with your plan, I suppose, and tell us about it as well.
Look, the reason is that I feel now more than ever we're in a position where, and I know there were fans there tonight that were hanging out the railings. God love them. I don't know how they did it for 90 minutes. I think at the moment we're all expressing our dissatisfaction at certain. Now, I want to say this now before we start this, that there are people involved at the club at this moment in time that are doing Trojan work behind the scenes. And I think they're being kind of thrown into the quagmire a little bit, that the dirt's been thrown at them just as much as everybody else over actions that are happening. But you can hear the dissatisfaction and you can see the dissatisfaction from supporters at the moment. But it's all being expressed on social media individually. And that's a huge vacuum. And it's being kind of lost in everything that's going on. So I'm a member of a supporters group in Cincinnati. Funny enough, Paddy Barrett was a player there, and that's how I kind of got in connection with them. And they've given me essentially a blueprint of how they run their supporters club. And what I've done is that I've tweaked it to suit Oriel Park and to suit Dundalk. So what I've decided is that I've put an idea out there that will come up with the Oriel. The Oriel is an independent supporters club it's while they're supporters of Dundalk Football Club, they're not officially attached to the club, which means that they're an independent voice for the supporters. The membership structure will include that there will be an executive committee which will be voted by which will be members who will have to be voted on by members. Okay. So the difference between, like, and I'm not having a go at any previous supporters club or association, is that sometimes a group is presented, there we are, lads, we're already formed, come and join us. Whereas in this instance, you all join as members and people have to put their names forward and they have to say, well, I actually want to be the president, or I want to be the content creator, or I want to be this match day coordinator. Yeah. And the big difference between that is people will have to show intent. Number one, that they'll have to show intent that they want to be part of this executive committee. Number one. And number two, you don't know who's going to come out of the woodwork. Okay. And that's a very important thing at the moment, because you look around when it's full, the stand in Oriel Park, there's an absolute plethora of talent there that's not being utilized at the moment. Mm-hmm. So we're trying, what I believe that needs to happen now is we need to have a group of supporters, yes, that are that are being represented right, but we need to have a kind of a very much an eclectic mix of people that we can really get and row in behind, but they will represent us in the right fashion and in the proper fashion. But also, like, and I also want to make a point here that I'm not trying to, how would you say, take over or dismiss what the Shedside Army are doing, because they're fantastic at what they do. They bring an awful lot of colour, an awful lot of noise, and what the Tie Rap Gang do an awful lot in the community in terms of fundraising for community projects. It's very much to work in line with those people. And I think there's a group of people out there that maybe for one reason or another don't like going to the Sheds, but feel that they're kind of a little bit lost. So this is for those kind of middle people. And I think there is a real kind of sense of, I think at the moment, there's a lot of dissatisfaction. But if we were to have a group that was able to voice that opinion to the club collectively, instead of us all just shouting it individually, if it came out as a one voice, I think that would be much more powerful.
Yeah, I think some of the points that we had mentioned before about supporters clubs and what we touch on even with Giller at the end of his conversation there is the one disappointment we have with Peak Six for all the good they've done with the playing side. I feel anyway that the supporter side has been left behind. Yeah.
Like you look at like the most successful period that we have had. The last time there was a Player of the Year awards was in 2013 or 2014. Like we won a double in 2015. We were in Europe in 2016. Yeah, we had a bit of a bit of a bad day in 2017 and whatever. But we won the double again in 2018. There was no kind of like, and those supporters traveled everywhere. Like, in particularly in 2016, when there was lads who emptied their credit union accounts to go to Amsterdam, to go to Russia, to go to Poland, to go to all these places. Like, why weren't they given their night? Why weren't they given their night with the players to say, listen, lads, thanks for going to do all those things? Like, and you know, and the same happened again. Like, we won, like, I know COVID has kind of hit things and it's snagged everything, but in 2018 under Kenny, like, we won a double and Pete Six were in charge. If they wanted to get the supporters really on board with them and their vision, like, you should have had like a supporters night to reflect what Pete Six want to bring. Yes. Like, there was no stopping, like, the community in Dundalk and the businesses in Dundalk would have rode behind it. If you were to turn around and say for the sake of, like, the Crown Plaza, we want to have a black tie night to support, like, you think Dundalk fans aren't going to get behind that, like, and they're not going to go and enjoy it. And like, it required, you know, a bit of insight, but required a bit of push and stuff like that. And I think the supporters very much were, now, I don't want to say the word let down, but they should have been more recognized. Like, yeah, it really, really should have been more recognized during this, particularly during this period when there was so much success on the pitch.
Yeah,
there should have been more given to them off it.
I think we mentioned before that, I wonder if there was enough support through a supporters club or individual clubs coming together under one umbrella, like you mentioned. Do you think that could kickstart some sort of development for better facilities? I think is that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I would say that my plan would hope to have is that you would hold various fundraisers during the course of the year. And if you were to pick, and I know that the Pride do this in Cincinnati, that they pick 2 charities a year, and then they have 2 other fundraisers, which they kind of keep as a development, like a logistical fund, for want of a better word, for future projects. Because they're moving stadiums. They got a brand new stadium and they're moving it. So they have to, like, there's aspects, to that they have to keep like a fund together. But if there was a case that, like we talk about P6, and I just remembered there's been these conversations. So P6 are billionaires. How come they're not developing their club I think people need to understand. P6 are not billionaires. They're in charge of a $1 billion hedge fund. The money doesn't belong to them. It belongs to various. It's resting. Exactly, but like essentially they're there to manage accounts on behalf of people. Yeah. You only have to look at what Louth have had to do in order to get their new stadium. They've had to raise $2 million of their own capital. Then comes government funding. Then comes association funding. Then comes county council funding. That also requires a group coming together and putting a plan together in place in order to submit that, in order to get that. So if there was a situation that the Oriel in 5 to 6 years' time had a pot of money, that they were able to say, if there was the idea of a ground development at Oriel, that they'd be able to say, well, we can contribute X amount. Then the National Association, which is the FEI, if they were in a position to do so, they could say, well, we can contribute this much. Then Louth County Council, then the sports capital grants, and then whatever other investments. Like it just requires a bit of organization and foresight. But yeah, definitely that's something that could definitely be put in. But also, I think it's important that without conjuring up a political term, a rainy day fund is definitely needed in case trouble comes down the road.
Yeah, I think that's the number one thing.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Oh no, it absolutely is. There needs to be that, because the Save Our Club initiative that happened in 2012 was absolutely amazing. But the Dundalk compared to now is the finances are astronomical in comparison.
Yeah. Kieran, if people watching this, we see there's always comments coming in later on about supporters clubs. So if people are interested, how do they get in contact with you? What's your next step?
My next step is that I pitched the idea and I said, listen, I'm going to hold what is known as a virtual town meeting. So basically anybody that's interested in that, you can contact me on my Twitter handle, which is @Ciaran Callan, or contact me on Facebook. I'll send. It's more than likely I'm going to do it next week. I'll probably do it next Saturday. I'm going to present it, and I want to make this very clear from the outset. My job, as well as being PRO of a GA ladies team and other bits and pieces, I have no intention on being on this committee in any shape or form. I wouldn't be able to give it the time it deserves, if that makes sense, because when these groups always in their infancy require an awful lot of nurturing and time, and I just don't have that at the moment. So my idea is that I'll present it to the people, I'll present it to whoever is at the virtual town hall meeting. I'll take all the questions that are needed. If there is an appetite and people say, yeah, right, let's go with this, then we have to set up what is known as a steering committee. The steering committee will consist of about 3 or 4 people who will take in the membership fees. Then the people who want to go for executive positions put their names forward. Then there's the vote. Then there's the establishment of the executive committee. The steering committee says, right, lads, off to yous. You're in charge now, and away we go. I think it's a fair process that sees that supporters, first of all, get their vote heard very, very early on in the process. So they've got real ownership on it straight away. But it also gives ownership to this new executive committee, whoever it may be, that they'll sit there and go, right, we've been voted in by our fellow supporters. We have to do right by them. And I just saw a comment there. Did I see a comment there from Richie O'Connor that he was saying that
Colin and Simon.
Look, I'd have no issue with anybody getting involved. This is carte blanche. This is brand new. So there's no kind of preconceived notions of who I want or who I don't want. If anybody wants to put their name forward to attend the town hall meeting, to be part of the steering committee, to be as part of these, go for it. Go for it. I'd be thrilled. My idea is just pitching it to you to see if you like it, and if we like it, all well and good.
Even Gally.
Pardon?
Even Gally.
Listen. Gally would make a fab president. He'd probably be a dictator, but you know.
Well, Ciaran, look, I think there'll always be an avenue on this podcast for supporters' voices. That's the reason we put this together. So, look, thanks so much for coming on. You're more than welcome back on any time that there's any further updates on this then as well. So, cheers for that.
Lads, you're an absolute fan. Thanks for everything. All right. Take care.
Cheers.
Perfect.
All right,
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
I think it goes to prove what can happen sometimes in our comments during the show. Ciaran, I think he's kind of taking the bull by the horns on that, you know, it's something that we brought up before, that where is the supporters' voice and everything that's going on? Like, there's a lot being played out across social media, and I think the Shedside Army putting an open letter even, you know, today kind of says a lot about where the fans' voices are during all of this.
People are frustrated. You can't look at you can't blame them. You know, if they weren't frustrated, there'd be no point in doing this. There'd be no point in supporting a football club. Look, it's just passion. You know, people are angry. Look, but that's, you know, like you were saying, the last 15 minutes of that game might change a few people's attitudes tonight. But you know, you hear rumours of Filippo going, this could be his last game. We don't know, but look, it's just passion. That's what it is. And if you didn't have it, so what would be the point? Even Steph looked happier tonight. He looks delighted.
I'm always happy. I was the happy one last week as well. Gally, so what's going to be your first thing you're going to do when you're chairman of the Oriel?
I don't know. I have enough on my plate.
I think it was timely, though. I think it was timely, though, just to have the fans' point of view on there from Ciaran, because our next guest on tonight is Jane McDermott. Jane, you're very welcome to the show. Jane, you've recently got a new title for us at Dundalk Football Club of Disability Access Officer. I think first and foremost, you've got to explain that one for us. I think you're still on mute. Hang on. Can you unmute yourself there?
Yeah,
there you go. Sorry, lads.
No worries.
How are you? Thanks very much for having me on. Glad we're coming on in a kind of happy mood. The role really entails representing disabled supporters, attending the games both home and away, and looking after the needs of supporters. And, you know, one big thing about the role is you have to be very specific with it, because my needs as a disabled supporter can be very different to the person beside me, or the person in the stand, or the person over in the shed. So it's a varied role in that regard. So I'm really looking forward to getting into it and getting started. It's frustrating, obviously, for like everyone. We're COVID, we can't go into the ground, so it'll be great. You know, there is work happening in the background. I am in touch with the club, and we are trying to get some plans into action.
Jane, I brought it up last week on the show, and I know myself and yourself have been chatting during the week. I mean, I think for a club like Dundalk to have a disability section just on the side of the pitch open to the elements, it's not fair on anybody, is it?
No, it isn't. And, you know, it's 2021 now. And, you know, as I've said this before, and I'll say it again, you know, we talk about inclusion all the time. And yes, we are very included, and we're beside the dugout. And, you know, there's there's great sides to that, but it's not safe, and we're not interacting with the fans, and we're there as supporters. That's our purpose of being in Oriel. So I think it's very important, you know, that we do move to an area that we are safe. First of all, safety is paramount. You know, that we, like, you know, I've seen it at the sideline where people have had to stand up in front of people to stop a ball. You know, I could have got a job in the goals that night. But on a serious note, you know, that is very dangerous, and it causes serious injury to somebody. I know you could say the ball can go into the stand or something, but we don't. Not everybody there can move and to duck, and, you know, and it's just not acceptable. So as I say, there's positive work going on there in the background, and we are looking, and it has been acknowledged by the club that it isn't acceptable for when supporters come back. So that's great that we're kind of on that positive road.
Yeah, I think it's a great move from the club. Like it's like a breath of fresh air to see some positivity coming. Like the role obviously should have been fulfilled years ago, but at least it's been done now, and there's no better person to take it up than yourself.
Thank you, Steph. Well, the role was there, and I suppose maybe it wasn't utilised as much in the past. And I myself, kind of independently before the role, would have gone to the club myself and kind of brought up concerns that I would have had. And as I say, before the season started, I was approached by the club. You know, they came to me, which was brilliant. And, you know, when you see that proactivity, and something just to follow on from what Ciaran said before me, you know, there's excellent people working up in Dundalk who really care about our club, they care about our community, and they want to get things done. And I don't feel they're getting any kind of recognition at the minute. It's, you know, like you're on social media, from when this news kind of was brought to our attention this morning. I wouldn't say announced, because I don't think I would call that an announcement, but it's negativity, and you're starting the day off again with more negativity. And I think it's very important to know that there are people working very hard in the background to try and make the experience for supporters better. You know, they're trying to learn, you know, they're trying to listen to people, and it is very hard to listen to people. We can't go there, we can't voice our opinions, you know. And I think we do have to do a bit of maybe bearing with things as well. We are in the middle of a global pandemic too, you know, and that's not talking about the on the pitch. That's a different story, but, you know, just work within the club.
I think this time is the most perfect time, Jane, for the likes of yourself having a consultation with the club to make these changes, because we can do them now while there's no supporters in. This is the chance to make some improvements, isn't it? So when it comes back, it's a better facility for everybody.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I think that was part of the club's is part of the club's plan at the moment. As I say, they approached me, and I met with staff in the club. I met with the director as well, and we talked. You know, we did a chat about what was going to happen, and we were on the same page, which I think is an excellent start. And we did bring up, the course, now that we do have the opportunity, that if work is going to be done, you know, that this is the time that we get on and get it done, and that we talk about match day experience, and this is so important that we can, as disabled supporters, can go in and be in a place that we're with everyone else, and we're kind of, you know, inhaling the atmosphere, and we're hearing the singing, and, you know, we're in there in the middle of it all with everybody. And I think, you know, that's very, very important for our supporters.
I think from chatting to you this week, the thing that really struck me though, Jane, is you're not just trying to improve facilities in this new role for people with disabilities. It's able people, it's everybody. You're just trying to raise the bar and standards all over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Chris, I think it's very important that we all experience, you know, a good night in Oriel. And your night in Oriel starts when you're walking in the gate and you meet somebody and you're predicting the score, and you buy your program, and you buy your goal time, and you're having the chat going in, and you might go in for the sneaky beer before the game, and you get talking. It's that whole experience before you go into, you know, before the gate, the 90. And I always say that about Dundalk as a club. We are such a community club. You know, you go down the town, you're chatting to people, like, you know, and I think it's so important that we all have a responsibility to work hard at that, and we can all give out. But I think we have to now look at it on a positive, and like Ciaran said, what we can do, to help things. But we can't control what's going on the pitch. Unfortunately, we don't have any control on that. But we can work to work on the community side of things and bring us together as supporters.
And just when you said match day experience, Jane, you mentioned there, has it been discussed when post-COVID and we're back at games and everybody's up at Oriel Park, will you have a specific role on the night? Or what way, would in that area, will you be like a kind of a go-to person for anybody?
Yeah, well, yeah, like I would have done a bit of that in kind of, throughout other seasons, where like I suppose European games would be big ones for us because we would organise tickets and we can only give a certain amount of tickets out. And I'd be very, it's like, everybody wants to come to a European game. So I'd be very careful about, looking after people. Like we do have a very good, I don't know if you know the area, but some nights we'd be right down, we get a great support and there's great banter among us as well. Now that can be difficult the way we're sitting, so it'd be great to get some hopefully in the area that we hope to plan to get up, that we'll be more together and we can communicate and work hard, that we can be linked as a community part of the club as well, because we're kind of a bit isolated as well, where we are even you can only really communicate with the person who's beside you. So I suppose your work would be, and hopefully maybe working with disability groups around town, trying to encourage supporters to come, that it's a safe place for people to come, whether it's physical disability, intellectual disability, people on the spectrum, that, there's a place for everybody in Oriel. And I think that's very important to point out, that we really want that.
I think we've all been crawling out on most of the shows here that COVID hasn't helped that community link back in from the owners being not able to get over here and interact with fans to us not even getting to Oriel anymore. So I think the club, being able to appoint someone like yourself who's so passionate about the club, first and foremost, never mind the role, I think that's a real positive step. And I think that's more of what we want to see in Oriel Park. More people like yourself getting the opportunities to improve it for everybody.
Yeah, and that's it. And it is great, and I'm delighted to have this position and to be able to do that and try to support people. And the big thing for me is that we are the same as everybody else on match night. We go to a game and we're in our jerseys and we're shouting and we're giving out about the referee and we're not happy, with different, and we're the same. And I think that is the big thing, is the inclusion. And I can only talk for myself, and I've always, had people in Oriel, great respect for people, and people, I've never been treated any differently, and people will do anything they can to help me. And that's so important for people. Like, a lot of people maybe coming to the games, that is their big one night out, maybe every fortnight, that is their big event. And we want to make that the best experience we can make that for people. And that's so important. And we're so lucky in the town we live in. People are very good. We have a good town, and people, and the supporters there come over and they're like, can I give you a hand? Do you need anything? And that's very genuine in the club, and it's very genuine among our supporters. And that's something that we want to keep in our club. And there's a lot of anxiety at the moment, there's a lot of frustration, and we get that, but we want to keep that, the root of that in the club. It's vital for us.
Is there any other League of Ireland clubs, Jane, that have made massive strides in this area that, like, do we need to catch up to a level of other clubs, or is there something that, are we relatively there as a club, do you feel, and we just need to improve and get better?
I think we have the tools within the club to do what we need to do. And I think it's about bringing us together and working together, and, that the funding is there. And, and I've said this before as well, I feel it's something where the FAI need to come in as well and offer this support to the club. You can talk about us being owned by very wealthy people. We all know that. But at the end of the day, the day-to-day running of the club has to be budgeted and it has to be managed. And I think there is an onus there on the FAI to come in and offer this support, because they're another, they talk about equality and inclusion all the time, and look, I've been to a couple of grounds around the country, and the improvements are coming. You can see them; they're coming. And it is coming, and it's becoming more important to clubs. It's becoming more important. You're having kind of people like myself active in the role that want to make a difference and want to make things better for people. And it's not about special treatment. Nobody wants special treatment. It's about being able to come and watch the game in a comfortable, safe environment and atmosphere, and that is the most important thing. Yeah. Turner's Cross, I would say, was always a pleasant experience to go to, and the ground was very good. You were always very well looked after there. We had a few great nights in Turner's Cross, and not just because you did few. And so that's and Tal, I think, is another place I would point out as well. I could be shot for giving them compliments, but they are very good. And again, they have great assistance. The staff there would be very, very helpful. I remember even going. I know it's probably different staff and something like that. Even going up there to European games, and they would do anything, because it's real hyper and everyone's in great form. But they would do everything they can to help out, and the same. It's as I say, it's getting better, and the awareness is there. And I think it's great, and I thank you again, lads, because I think it's great. This is a very important side of the club. We are so consumed with football at the moment and the performances, and this is such a huge part of our club and our community.
I was going to actually ask you about the role the FAI had to play in this, but you've kind of answered my question before I could get to it. So let me put it this way, Jane, then. As part of the yearly licensing for the league, should there be an element of this brought into for inclusion and therefore could raise the standard across the whole league?
Yeah, being bring it in as a start, like for fun. Do you mean in funding way? Sorry.
Well, as in to get your Premier League license, you have to get X amount of a minimum standard for disability sections to improve that, and then that has to get at a higher level each year. You can't maintain the basic level each year, or you'll be in danger of losing your Premier League license. I mean, that would really kick clubs on to go, well, we need to do this. And then they would also push back on the FAI and say, well, for us to do that, we need money. Come and improve it for us.
That's exactly, and I think as well, and another thing, the FAI obviously have a big role in that to do that. But I also, and I touched again in your previous interview as well, county councils, they have an obligation as well to come in and try and help us and support us as their local town club, with their town club, and there should be funding coming from there as well. Like, we're not looking for an extravagant amount of money. The work that we could do in Oriel, we could do quite comfortably, but that support is very important for us. It's all well and good saying, well, we have this and we have that, but if you do basics, and I mean the basics, you have to sort of, it's a blank canvas and you kind of have to start again with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jane, when you first came on, Steph's eyes just lit up when he's seen your jersey tonight.
So did mine. I was just going to say it.
Just firstly, Jane, I just want to say.
Sorry.
Go on. I know. I just was going to say that you're a breath of fresh air. I think your positivity is going to rub off on some of us, which is great. But I spotted the jersey straight away. So do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, I've been following all the work you've been doing, Steph, and it's just amazing. And and I suppose mental health comes into a side of my role as well, and especially now in lockdown, and like a lot of people, disability, we're working from home. We don't have that outlet as well. A lot of people maybe aren't going to day centres as regularly as they were, and they don't have their groups and their mentors and the support they've had. So I just think it's excellent, the work you were doing. And I ordered the jersey straight away, and I was hoping I'd have it for tonight. And the post came yesterday. I got another delivery and it didn't come. And I was like, oh, it's not going to come. But they were fabulous. I love it.
Yeah.
And well done on the initiative. It's excellent, lads. It's brilliant. And it's great to hear men coming out and talking about mental health and, and hitting all aspects, supporters, players, everything. It's brilliant, and I'm keeping a good eye on all the work you're doing. So well done.
Yeah. No, it's really good. Like, even when you're involved in it, you can feel a lift within yourself. Like you're involved. You're talking to people. You're talking like players within the League of Ireland going out of the way to help out any way they can. Like it's sort of, when we're all being apart at this time, like it's bringing everyone a bit together. Like, and then even walking up the street the other day, seeing one or two jerseys, and it's just put a smile on my face. And even seeing yourself tonight, like it's just amazing. Like,
Yeah. And it's a pride, and it's something you should be proud of, because a lot of people have these ideas and they don't just have, the confidence or whatever. They don't go for it, and you went for it. So it was brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a really good initiative, and we'll keep promoting it as best we can, because I think that's another thing to bring up. Just, we really get behind each other in the club. If something like that comes up, if we have something going on, we really support. I've done a couple of fundraisers over the years, and the club have always been very good to me, and they donate prizes to me and things. And we have to focus on those sides of the club as well. That there is that great grain there, that they do support their town as well. And I think we've lost a little bit of a connection, but I think we all collectively have to work hard at getting that back as a community, because we are a community club. And it makes me sad when I read things and I hear things, and people are so, like, I'm frustrated. Everybody's frustrated at the moment. But I think we've great potential to bring this back, both on the pitch and off the pitch. I think great work will be done, and there's good people there involved that want it to work, and that's the most important. Like, we've great players there. The players are there, and it's just about getting them really together again. It's a slow start to the season, and we're really not used to it. And I think we're traumatized. We don't know what to do because we're not used to this. And I think we just have to give it a bit of time, and we have to keep going with them and keep the support going, and keep roaring at the LOI app when we're watching.
Hopefully tonight's a bit of a turning point on the pitch, and like you said, like you getting appointed there, that's a turning point off the pitch as well. And if we're all moving in the same direction, it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, and I think we are, Stefan. I think we all want to be in the same direction. And I think, even the likes of setting up the supporters club, and that, I think, is going to be vital, and it's going to be really good, because we've got really good people in the club who really care, very clever, articulate people, and you bring them people together, and all you can bring is goodness out of that and positivity. Yeah. And we get those people together in a room virtually, and we work on that, and we open up communications with the club, and we talk to the club, and, they hear us and we hear them. And you're going to have that when you're having anything with it. I spoke to the club and I said things, maybe everything wasn't agreed on, but you get your points out, and that's communication is goal in everything. And if we have that, I think, and you're reading Twitter and you're reading social media, and people are so frustrated. And it's sad to see. It makes me sad when I read that, when you read really hardcore play, and people are really kind of losing, not losing will, but they're frustrated. And we just want that to, I think tonight, if we go on next on Tuesday night with Derry and start the way we finished the last 10 or 15 minutes, I think we're on enough. I think things can pick up, and we have to leave the people doing the job to try and find out and appoint one manager, get that sorted, and then hopefully everything will start falling into place, and we can pick up the league. And you never know.
Tell you what, Jane, you've been applying for a job for yourself. No bother. No bother.
Get over that now.
Motivation there, no problem.
I was going to say get your badges, but it
doesn't matter. Thanks very much, Jane. You've been brilliant. Thanks very much for coming on and speaking with us.
Well, thanks very much for having me, lads. Thank you very much, and best luck. I watch this every week now, and I'll keep an eye out. I'm really enjoying it, so thank you.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Jane. Thank you. Lads, I want a bit of whatever the heck Jane is having every day. That's some optimism.
Yeah, she's a shoe-in for Ciaran. She's a shoe-in for the Orioles. Yeah, a shoe-in for the supporters club.
There you go. You've just abdicated your president's throne already.
Yeah. Absolutely. Brilliant.
She can come in as vice president beside you, Gal. There's two people. There's two. So Ciaran, we're doing this job for him here, we're filling up this board.
Yeah.
Okay,
Guys,
yeah.
just one question I want to bring to you that a couple of people have brought up tonight, and that is around, I suppose, because Shane has now left, who do we look for? Where do we go with this? Yeah.
You nearly said a laugh there, and but I am going to throw in somebody from the outside that knows the club. He's been here before, and he's gone on. He's a pro license. That's a big positive. And I'm going to throw in Dave Rogers' name. I know it might be controversial among some people, but he's went, and he's got his pro license. He's went to India, managed. So like, if we're gonna go, if this is my thinking behind it anyway.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go with players from outside the league, which looks like that's what we're gonna be signing, I think there's no better man that's gonna just go in somewhere from, like, he went over to India, brought in a couple of players, but it was Indian based. He's went to Scandinavia as well. He's over in America now at the minute with Arizona FC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we're gonna appoint somebody, like why don't we take a chance on him?
Does he come home for it?
I think he does. Like,
he'd have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's all right. That's
we
all
60
right.
days. We're okay on this.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's like it's one of the biggest jobs in Ireland going. Like, there's European football there possibly this season if we can get our stuff together.
8 points off Europe.
8 points off Europe. Yeah, there you go. Like,
9 points off the top.
With the qualifications to come up later on, like, but he's married to a girl from Dundalk. I'm sure I'm sure she'll want to be coming home. Knowing her, she'll want to be coming home as well. So I think she might have pocketed me a few quid to mention his name anyway to start getting the ball rolling on it. But because you're sort of looking around the league, going like, who are you really going to bring? Like, is managers that are in a position already going to leave their position to come?
Not a chance.
Come and work at Dundalk at the minute, the turmoil we're in. You're sort of looking at the likes of Pat Fenlon, maybe, who was mentioned earlier. I think, Gally, you mentioned him before. He's
don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be a massive Pat Fenlon fan, but I was listening to during the week, and I think it might have been the blog.
The RT Soccer Podcast.
Yes. Look, he has the experience for the problem we're going to have as a club is we've got a director of football. So if managers don't want to work under that, then that narrows the field straight away. Now, I'm not saying there'll be any interference, but, Jim's on the sideline, named as interim manager tonight. So, it's one of them things. If there's a clash, if somebody who already knows Jim Magilton mightn't come in, it's one of them. You narrow the field straight away with a director of football. It's like Gill said it earlier on. He wouldn't fancy it. But if there's going to be someone above him all the time, he doesn't like the idea of it. It's probably going to be somebody Jim knows, because they have to work together. So we've heard the same name coming over and over again. We've seen him. He's been in the stands pre-season, all season.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say his name? Probably he wouldn't be my pick, but Jared Little's name keeps coming up all the time. He's only got the 19th job and the 17th job in Ireland, Northern Ireland. I don't know how that works, how he comes to Oriel Park.
Yeah.
But look, I mean,
do you think he leaves really that position? Do you think he leaves that position to come to Oriel? Because like that seems like a state. Like, if you're only going in, you're going looking after young lads, bringing them in. But someone mentioned to me that, and I don't know if I'll get in trouble for saying this, but might as
well drop all the names, lads.
he's up trying to. While he was in Oriel once or twice, he was looking at one or two of the players for the 17s and 19s, a young O'Kane, possibly switching allegiances to go to the north. So I'm going to drop that bomb right there. But look,
he's supposed to be a hell of a coach. I know a lot. I heard from another man that knows a couple of Sligo fans, Kevin McGuire, and he said they were very disappointed when he left Sligo. When he, a couple of years ago now, 2 or 3 seasons ago. But he's supposed to be an excellent coach. He can't do all the jobs. There's absolutely no way he can do up the north and come here. I don't know. It's one of them jobs. If they're willing to work with a director of football, Pat Fenlon was a director of football, so he knows what the gig's about.
He was with Linfield and Waterford, wasn't
he? Linfield, yeah. And look,
Waterford as well.
I don't know how well he'd go down up here, but I there's nobody going to leave their job in the Premier Division to come to Oriel Park at the minute. Not a chance. I mean, if Bows keep going on a bad run, you might get Keith Long in, but it's unlikely. I honestly don't know. I don't know who'd want the job. I don't know who'd want the job. I really don't.
And here's the question: so does Filippo have to go for someone to come in, or are we looking for someone to assume the manager's role in this with Filippo still there, or is this a complete clear out now?
I think it's a clear out. I think if somebody comes in now to be the exact same thing Shane Keegan was, like it's not going to be like you think Pat Fenlon's going to come in to just like sit there and be like do interviews, sit in the touchline. Like his personality is bigger than that, even without going into any of his past record of success he's got as a manager. But he's a man manager. He's like to say, like you can't just bring someone in that's gonna just go along with things. I think you need a man manager now that's gonna take the scruff of the neck and just like get the players and go with his way of thinking. I think that's what we need right now. I think we need a real strong character to come in and just take it and get their ideas across.
Yeah. I'm going to put both of you on the spot again, right? Let's just say the club decide to clear Filippo, okay, and Giuseppe go, and we have to get a new manager in. I'm going to name 4 names that I've seen on comments here tonight, and you can take your pick between this, okay? So we've got Rogers, obviously, that you have mentioned as well.
Okay.
We've got Jared Little. A couple of people have mentioned Pat Fenlon here as well. And I see one come in for David Healy, infield manager. So out of the 4 there, lads, who would be your ideal candidate?
Well, David Healy, whoever gave a shout to David Healy, that's before this podcast and on, that's who I just knocking about on the phone. With the link with Northern Ireland soccer and Jim Magilton in particular, that's probably someone, it's somebody like that would probably get the job. If you're going to throw that list up in Oriel Park, probably David Healy. Jared Little would be the 2 because they know Jim Magilton. You're going to have to get someone in that's going to work that way. It's going to work closely with Jim. You know, the likes of Pat Fenlon, absolutely, it won't happen. Dave Rogers, look, I don't know Dave too well. I followed him on Twitter for a long time. He's done incredible work over the years. I've seen him. I think he was at Liverpool Academy as well, doing a bit of coaching a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But I think you have to go. You're going to have to get someone not necessarily with Irish League experience or League of Ireland experience, but you're going to have to get someone who can come in and just knock a few heads, but in a good way, and ignore everything else. And that's. I honestly, it's the first time we probably sat down looking for the Dundalk manager, and I can't name anyone. Yeah. Like David Healy's a cracking shout.
A couple now comments coming in for Healy, actually.
Yeah, like he's got the experience. Linfield. Look, there's plenty of coaches out there. It comes back to my thinking of it. Like if when you hear the rumours up in Oriel Park, I don't want the job. You know, like if I was qualified, I wouldn't want it. You know, like so. It all depends on the personality that comes in. I really don't know. I mean, if somebody put a gun to my head and said, "Who would you want?" I would ring Vinny Peart. That's, you know,
he's not on my list.
No, he's not on your list. But it's like I don't like managers going back, but they got a raw deal, and that'd be my number 1. But it's not going to happen. Look, but David Healy, David Healy, Jared Little. I don't think you look too far further than Jared Little. I really don't.
You've just named everybody on the list.
No, but that's who I pick. I wouldn't pick Jared Little, but that's who I would pick. That's who's going to get it, I would think.
Out of these 4, who are you going to pick? And he picks about 7 people. Unbelievable.
You have to be friendly with Jim Magilton if you want the job.
Steph, you pick one that is on the list and give you a reason why.
I'll pick Dave Rogers. I'll give you the reasons why. There's an American link now as well.
There's a bung in this.
No, there isn't. I'm telling you. He's been on the pro license last year, so he can tick that box. Yeah. He's a strong personality. He's
too strong.
Well, maybe that's it. maybe that'll stop him from getting it. He's not just going to go along with
Arse of steel, like.
Yeah, he's not just going to be a yes man and go along with what's happening. He's worked with youths as well with the Liverpool Academy. I don't know. Like, I think he'll come in and he'd be able to work with Stephen McDonald perfectly. He'll give the youth.
Not too sure what you've done to your mic.
Okay.
There you
Am I
go.
am I back?
We're back.
I think he got. It's either he definitely got 2 or 3 players into the Indian national team, and then he was brought in as an assistant coach with the Indian national team for a tournament as well. Like, so it's not like he doesn't have experience. He's senior management experience. He knows the league inside out.
Yeah.
He's always keeping an eye on it from what you're looking at on Twitter and stuff like that. So, like, he'd be my, if I was picking somebody, he'd be my pick. I don't know if he's going to get it for Gallagher's reason, saying he might be too strong of a personality. It depends what way the club want to go. If the club want to just break off from the 2 Italians now and go with a strong personality that's going to manage the team, I think he'd be a great man to get in. If they're going to go with somebody, if they're going to keep the 2 Italians, they're going to have to get someone like Shane to come in and just be a guinea pig, really. Like, and then the only other option then is, I don't know if Magilton's going to step into that. Is he? I don't think he will. Like, I know there's been a lot of talk about it, but I can't see. Was he on the bench tonight?
I think he was on the bench.
I don't think
he is interim manager going by going by social media.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, but
to play devil's advocate, lads.
Okay.
Is there any way in which Filippo and Giuseppe stay on?
If I was them, I wouldn't go anywhere. Like, them boys were taken from, them boys uprooted their whole lives and came to Oriel Park. There is no chance I will get on a plane and fly home. And like, them boys, like, it's unfair on them. Look, it's unfair on Shane Keegan as well. Like, you know, we're hammering the team every week. It just hasn't worked for them. But like Kieran said earlier on, any one of us will take that job. Go to it. Why wouldn't you? But no, I wouldn't go any. I wouldn't take it with certain individuals. But if you were offered a job, if Shane Keegan's sitting in the stands as a sports analyst, whatever, the opposition analyst, and they obviously went and said, look, you're our only hope. You've got a pro license. You need to come down here. Of course, he's going to go for it. The Italians were uprooted from their home, from their families, taken over. They signed a contract that the rug was pulled out on them. They didn't sign the contract on the basis of Shane Keegan was going to manage the club. And Jim Magilton didn't offer the contract. So Jim Magilton came in after these boys were signed. So Jim Magilton stuck with them. That's what we're at the minute. Like, Jim Magilton would never hire them. And that's a conflict of interest. That's where the power struggle happens, and that's the problems we have at the minute. I wouldn't go anywhere if I was them, because I want money. Like, it's very simple. They have to pay them. If they're going to sack them, they've got to pay them. It's very, very simple. I think Filippo is probably as good a man manager as you get. It just hasn't worked for him. He just hasn't maybe got the experience at club level.
The only thing is, like, the Italians are full of pride and stuff like that. Like, surely with everything that's going on and like his reputation, if he had one before this, like, do you know what's it going? It's going to be in tatters after this. Like, it's. Do you know what I mean?
If he gets qualified, he won't walk again anyway.
Yeah, true enough. You'll go back to academies or whatever.
Yeah. But I genuinely feel sorry for the 2 boys, you know, coming over on their own. And you always see them about town having the crack, drinking their coffee. But the rugs were pulled out from under them, and that's what I feel bad. It's not the contract they signed. And they were offered a job. Look, and Peak Six obviously offered them the contract. They're not football men, I understand, but look, it's unfair on them. Like, I wouldn't be annoyed if they walked away from it.
Did we see enough tonight of where the 2 Italians had more control over team affairs? Like, did we see that there was a clear difference tonight than how we have been playing, do you think?
I think that goes back to players playing on the pitch that knew each other, though. Like, I think I know Ciaran said one voice and stuff like that. That's why I asked him the question to see if it was coming from a managerial side of things that the change was. But I know from my own experience when you're getting bashed as a player, it drives you on. It doesn't like the real players then stand up to that and be like, well, hang on a minute, I'm after doing such and such. Like players in that team have won countless leagues, doubles, cups. Like their pride has to be dented there as well. And like their careers are like at stake here, really. Like if you look at it, if they've a bad season carrying on from last season, I know they played in Europe and they won the FAI Cup and stuff like that, but like I from looking at it, it looked like the players were striving it on, and it was players that knew each other. When you had the link ups between McElhenney and Duffy, like when them two are on form, and like they were the last 20 minutes, even from half time, really, like they were linking well together. We were getting serious joy from it. And then McMillan coming on up top of Hoban, which we were sort of crying out for a while.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's players knowing each other. Like I said, patterns of play, knowing he's going to make the run inside. He likes to make a run outside. You know what he likes, you know what he doesn't like. You're covering for your mate. Stuff like that. I think that's massive. I think that's massive. Chris, what do you think? Who you're asking all the questions here, but
I thought I was getting the easy way out of this, lads, tonight. I think with everything that's going on, I'm not too sure there's a future at the club for the Italians. I just think the water's been muddied too much every which way, that it looks like it'll be hard for them to remain on. I think you said earlier, like it's a pride thing, Gally, with these Italians too. And I think it might look like they're being undermined in everything they've been doing. And then they'll point the finger and saying, when I was allowed to do things, I was able to win an FAI Cup. I was able to get this team to Europe. They'll say these things. And then it comes down to the bad results. Who gets the blame for the bad results? And that's my fear with it. I think we're probably looking at a new managerial appointment next week. I do think, and I think Pat Bennon's a no, because listening to him on that podcast this week, I think he's kind of gone, although he said he enjoyed coming in for some training sessions and stuff, I think he's gone to the other side now. I think he's in the boardroom. He wants to improve football structures. I mean, there's talk, he was talking about which is definitely a debate we're probably going to have at some stage, about the All-Ireland League and how that can improve structures in it, in the whole country. So I think that's him out. I think he's happy to be a boardroom person now. So I think if you're down to the other three candidates, Healy's probably at the most successful club on this island. Why does he leave? So I don't think he leaves there. He's probably on big money up there too. Northern Ireland legend at one of the biggest clubs. See how I changed that? In Northern Ireland. So I don't think he leaves. So now I'm left between Jared Little and Rogers. Jared Little, there's possible ties already being at the club. It's an easier appointment. If the club go with that way, that's the easiest appointment for them.
Of course. Yeah.
If they go with Rogers, roll the dice to see if somebody outside with all the influence, Steph, you've just said, can bring a wealth of knowledge from around the globe in. That'd be class. Because if that works out, what's that?
So yeah, go on. Yeah, it would be class. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I think that's somebody who the fans could get behind a lot quicker.
And Dave would be taking a massive risk, though.
He would, but he's got a massive personality.
But so does Jim McDermott.
And that's why I'm going with Jared.
That's the stumbling block.
No, that's. I think the club personally will end up going with Jared Little if the Italians are gone. I think that is the safe appointment. He will understand the role asked of him already. He will understand that. after being in Oriel before, he'll understand what it's like, what's been expected, and that's why I think that's what will happen. But did that even answer it?
What do we know?
I'm telling you now. See when this is all over. See when this is all over, you boys get into politics because you haven't answered one question, or you've answered it multiple times, where you can just go back and go, I told you that.
See, it's one of them. Who do you think will get it, or who do you want to get it? It's one of them. I think there's no doubt Jared Little will be the next manager of Dundalk. I don't see anybody else. I really don't. I can't. He's there all season. He's sitting in the stand all season.
I told you why he's there. I told you why he's there. You won't listen to me.
Yeah, that's horseshit.
We'll see. If that happens, I'll just get the recording of this and I'm getting on a loop on Twitter of Callan shit.
If that happens, right, I want to go up to the top spot. I want everyone down the bottom, and I just want to be on the top. You just creaking down the
bottom.
All right, here we go. Hang on, there you go. This is the format going forward.
It's the Stephen McCavitt show.
Stephen McCavitt show from now on in. Right, lads, we better wrap up stuff. Once again, Pingu's not on and we've gone overboard, and we always say it's him that holds us up. So that's that gone out the window again.
Though.
Yeah, that's true. We got 3 guests tonight, so I think then it's fair.
3 legends.
I think we got to decide our man of the match. All right, I'll give it to you this way. I've given you a list already. I'll give you another list tonight. So we've had Stanton, we've had Hooban, we've had Mickey Duffy, and we had John Gill.
Oh, John a pizza.
I'd like to go Giller, but he's not on the pitch.
He dropped the pizza off the boat. Yeah. Mickey Duffy for me. Yeah, Mickey Duffy.
Right, it's Mickey Duffy for me too. Yeah. Steph? Rogers.
My man's not on the list here. 2 of my men's not on the list.
Rogers or Fats. It's a galley answer.
Rogers or Fats isn't on the list. I would have went Gillo, but from the players you've mentioned, well, I'll go with Mickey Duffy again. His link-up play was very good. I think we've a late entry.
No, it's another Mickey Duffy. Even Flano's after coming in now. Another standard. Flano's agreeing with Duffy on this.
Yeah, I think Duffy, from the names you've picked out there, I think when he's on form, he's probably the best left winger in the league, or winger even. I go as far as that. And when he plays well, we sort of play well and more dangerous. We create chances. So yeah.
We'll have to get you to come up with a comment for Duffy, like Fats, and then Tiernan can take that onto TV.
Yes, yeah. Anybody can take it on. I'll let them use my comments. I'll be like Gillo with the quotes.
Now, like first in tonight, lads, was Richie O'Connor with Duffy, and I think he's been the bridesmaid and never the bride with these pizzas. Is tonight the night, lads?
Yeah, I think so. I think he texted in at the final whistle, did he?
Yeah,
he had to be the first in.
He was straight in.
The final whistle wasn't even blown, and he had Duffy in.
He's a good texter. He's always texting him.
Yeah. So Richie, we're giving you the pizza tonight. This is it. It's happened. Finally. We want pictures of the pizza, though. Am I right?
Yeah.
If he's actually collecting that, I think we need to see Richie with the pizza.
Yeah, he can't be passing it on. Alan Garnon nearly done me in last week. We nearly had a lawsuit on our hands there.
I think Gally stood in there and smoothed it over in his, in his political way.
The people that won the competition actually were the ones that ran it.
It's not that too uncommon, I hear.
Yeah, it's coming around the dog, all right.
Right, we've another night of this on Tuesday against Derry. A quick round of predictions, lads. Let's do something different. Round of predictions. How do we think we're going to get on against Derry?
I think we'll win. I think we'll win on the basis that Derry are such a bad team. That's that simple. If we can't beat Derry, or at least, even if it's like a draw would be okay, but just even as bad as well playing, it would just be okay. I think we can beat Derry. I think Duffy will get at them. I still think Ryan O'Kane isn't playing enough. And I think Junior could come on and get a goal after just been on tonight. What an excellent finish. Should have been 3. But yeah, I do think we will beat it. I do think we turn over there. I think we can see it again. But I do think we'll beat them. Maybe 3-1.
3-1.
Steph?
Seem to be sort of struggling for goals a wee bit at the minute.
Now's the time.
Can't see us scoring 3, to be honest. But like it all depends if we can show the same attitude and desire in the last 10-15 minutes. I know we were a bit desperate to try and get a winner at the end, but like we need to put in a performance, and then see where it takes us. But I'm gonna go draw.
Another draw.
I know like people are saying Derry aren't great, like Ali, but I don't know. Like they're going to be tough. We always have a tough match up there, no matter who's playing for them. I know the crowd won't be there as well. That's a big factor for them. But I think it'll be a draw. I hope we can get a win, but I think it'll be a draw.
I take a 1-0 win off someone's backside and in. Off Dave Rogers' backside and in.
Junior in the last minute.
Junior in the last minute. Dally, he's now your hero. Someone you've slated for 5 episodes.
Unbelievable.
Now the hero.
I wouldn't mind. Like he should have hit 3. He missed 2 point blank chances.
I knew you couldn't give him praise. Matt just pulled us out.
Just a wee bit.
Look, Flano was saying on the commentaries he was doing a few of these lollipops. And the well coming off from.
Right, guys, I think we'll leave it at that. I want to just say thank you to John Gill for dropping in at the very start, for Ciaran Callan for the Oriel Supporters Club, and to Jane McDermott, the Disabilities Access Officer at Dundalk. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining in. Thanks, lads, for your comments, and Pingu for getting off so early.
Yeah, disgrace.
He came up with this idea.
Yeah, he came up with it and then scoffers. So Pingu for president of the Oriel Supporters Club, am I right?
Sign them up.
Yes.
Sign them up. And don't forget, lads, no fats, no party.
Let's leave it at that. Thanks, everyone.
Good luck.
Good luck.